I've got to say, Crimson. I've been playing Crimson Desert, and it is a fantastic game. And I'm gonna explain to you why I think Crimson Desert is just an overall good game. It might not be the type of game you like, but see, what I look for in games like Crimson Desert, a medieval fantasy game, is the fantasy. And if you look back on games like Oblivion, like World of Warcraft, God of War, I mean, would God of War fit into this example? Because let's just take open world games like Oblivion and Skyrim, for instance. Like, the combat is kind of meh if you think about it. Like, I know we're going to look back on it and be like, okay, well, at the time it was good. You're looking at it through rose tinted glasses. But looking back, you're like, okay, maybe the combat wasn't good, but what made games like that good was the fantasy. It was a fantasy game with fantasy races, with fantasy powers, fantasy problems, and you could fix those problems in fantastical ways. And you had, the overarching baddie, like the Daedra in Oblivion. You had the dragons in Skyrim. And, I mean, but under all that, you got just, you going from city to city, and each place has a problem or an issue or things that are revealed to you as you go on. And I think the D&D game master format is the best way. Like, take any DM or GM that and they can make an objectively better story than, I mean, let's look at like Dragon Age Veilguard or like a Vow. What even was the story of those games? Because you looked at, how the game looked, how the characters were, the bullshit they added into the game, and then you just tuned out, and they like to blame the consumer, and I'd like to say it's not on the consumer to need to figure out or to understand. I mean, it's on you as the developer to make me understand, to make me want to play your game. And if you can't do that, well, sucks to suck. And if you think of any other product, that's just the way things have always been when selling a product. Because at the end of the day, that's what a game is. It is a product, but it's also an art form. Each game is an artistic experience that should do everything in its power to want people to experience it. Avowed doesn't do that. Okay, it's made by a company that used to, but clearly this not the same people. So I'm looking playing Desert. I keep calling it Black Desert. It's by the same company. And I'm like, okay, what exactly is making it good? And I go back to the GM situation. It's like, okay, you have a guy, you're walking through a city, and then someone comes up to you and it's like, oh, there's this noble that is getting all this power, and he's making, I don't know, raising taxes and shit because he's conquering all the other nobles or subjugating them. We need your help. And then you go to, I guess, like his wife, and his wife is like, oh, well, I don't really like this guy because, I don't know, he, he's infertile, or he has a small penis. And then you go to the guy, and it's like, you try to buddy up to the noble guy, and he's like, oh, yes, I have all this power, but I have a small problem. I consulted with this demon, and he's giving me all this power, but unfortunately, I don't know, I have erectile dysfunction. Okay, he has erectile dysfunction, which is why the wife doesn't like him, and the wife wants to, because the wife doesn't really care about all the power. She just wants a guy that doesn't have a erectile dysfunction. So you're walking out this place, and the same fucking demon comes to you, and it's like, huh? Yeah, do you want to have more power than this guy? I can give it to you, but you'll have erectile dysfunction. So now you have choices, right? You can side with the wife to try to get rid of the guy, or you can side with the guy, which is effectively the winning team at the time, or you could take the demon's offer and then conquer the guy, and you become more powerful. And let's just say in this instance, you do just get more power, like the whole beginning of the game becomes easy mode, but you get erectile dysfunction. And it's like, okay, what is the call, like the stat? Like, do you gain or lose any stats for having erectile dysfunction? No. I mean, it's literally just free power. Your character just has erectile dysfunction that doesn't mean anything. So depending on how you, the player, want to role play your character, if all you really care about is gaining power at the cost of a small PP, well, you can join the demon, and kill the noble guy. If you don't care one way or the other, if you just want to join the guy and he gives you a lot of money, you can also do that. Or you could tell the demon to fuck off and see, let's just assume that will be the hard option, because now you have to find practical ways to take down the noble guy because he is powerful, right? Let's assume if you just roll up and try throwing hands with him, he beats the fuck out of you. Or it is a very difficult slog of a fight. So you go to the lady, his wife, and you try to work with her. She says, oh, well, there's these monks with a sword. That's pretty cool. That can slay demons. You go to them, do side quests with them. My point is, and again, this story is just something I just came up with off the cuff. It's not a big story. It's not anything that's world changing. It's just the situation you happen to be in, right? But based off the decisions you make, you can either have a good time or a bad time, or you can just not care and just walk the fuck out. Like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going to another town. Like, this is the essence of fantasy, is drama and how you go about either dealing with it or how you don't deal with it. You fuck off, right? Crimson Desert definitely does have that. Now, it doesn't really give you a lot of, and again, I'm in the early stages, it doesn't really give you a lot of choice, per se. You're kind of just playing a story, but I think it's fine. And again, even if you don't find the game to be that fun, it's like, what other options do you have? What are the other good fantasy games made in the past 3 years? I mean, and I believe there are some, right? When did Elden Ring come out? I don't know. But my point is, they exist, but you really have to look. But Crimson Desert, you can just add to the shelf of legitimately good fantasy. And again, not to spoil the game. I mean, you play. You start out with as a guy that is part of, I guess they're like a tribe or a warrior caste of warriors, and I mean, you already start out sort of well known and power. I guess not really strong per se, but you can handle yourself, and you can really only get more powerful from that. Also, things like RKOing and fucking body slamming people and doing the scorpion get over here, right? Like, things like that is cool. even though you only really use it once or twice in combat, I think it's just amazing that it's there. And it's the game that tells you, oh hey, you have more buttons on your controller. You have more keys on your keyboard instead of like one or two that does the actions. How about you use them? It can get a little bit frustrating or a little bit like, oh, I pressed this, that, or the other. What is the button combination? But as you get into it, it sort of comes naturally. I like this armor, but I mean, hell, they even have fucking mods for the game already. Can I flip through this without spoiling anything? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a game like this, I do believe it is a game you have to get invested in. An investment I'm fine with because, man, I'm just getting sick and tired of playing like Helldivers again. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, and I don't even really play Zenless Zone Zero or Girls Front Line all that much anymore unless I'm messing with my video game. I don't really stream them. Like, I only really play like Nikkei Gods of Victory, so a game like this I'm fine with investing into. And again, just having things be revealed as you go through fundamentally mundane quests, but it reveals more and more about the main thing you're about to get into, is a good way to tell a fantasy story. And again, a fantasy story in a fantasy setting with fantasy characters and creatures. Like, what companies want to do and what studios want to do is to tell their story in a fantasy setting. And that usually just completely falls through because, I mean, you're having the modern story told, but it's swords and shields and shit. But modernity is creeping into these games, and that's just what the gamer's rejecting. Like for instance, say there's just a story that, oh, the merchants are the bad guys because they're evil capitalists and they want money. That's one of those stories that people roll their fucking eyes to because it's like, oh, I see. So the people doing this don't actually know how to make good stories. But they do know, how to make the modern story. It's like you can't have evil races because modern bullshit, like things like that, people just roll their eyes to because they know why it's being done. And it might not just be the studios. There might just be stories you're just not allowed to tell. Otherwise, games journalists will shit the bed. But unfortunately, the market dictates what games should exist, not the games journalist. I mean, they may rally people who don't fucking play games and aren't gamers to try to dogpile games. But if the market legitimately wants a game like Crimson Desert, it's going to be successful. Like, it's a force of nature. Like, the market is a force of nature that you can't manipulate to your whim. You can only adhere to. And it may suck. You may not like that. But it's just the way it is. So I'm going to play the hell out of this game. And I'm going to be glad I did. There's already mods for the game. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna mod the game yet. I mean, I might mod the game to make her hotter. But a lot of the mods make her butt ass naked, which is cringe. But anyway, I mean, the game's not without its problems. Like, I think the lock-on system's kind of goofy. Like how, well, this is probably a setting like where your camera will always follow the guy you're locked on to. like I could change that, but then I feel like people that are around you are hitting you, and you want to see who the hell's around you. Like, and again, some of like the RKO moves are cool, but if you're surrounded, they can still hit you. So they're very situational to do. But I mean, even with the issues and the problems, I like the game. And again, what other fantasy am I allowed to get into, or I'm allowed to like? Like I played the fuck out of Elden Ring. I beat that game like 11 goddamn times. I played Night Rain. I enjoyed it, but it's one of those games you play for a couple hours and then you just sort of been like, all right, I'm good. But anyway, amazing game, and usually I'm in the early stages, but usually if I'm this hyped for a game, regardless of what it comes at me late game, I'm still going to be into it. But hey, that's all I got to say about this. Peace out.